Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to a live edition of the Highbury Squad. It is a brand new week. That means we start with the blank canvas. Let's tell pictures, let's tell stories. And what a weekend. Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Good evening, boys and girls. Welcome to another live edition of the Highbury Squad. The gang is back. The squad is here. My podcast brother from another mother, Mr. Super Kevin Campbell.
Hi, squaddies. Hope everybody's all right. Sophie, really good to see you. I know you're still on your holes, but we had to get one day in, my dear, this week, especially after the weekend. At ease, squaddies.
We certainly did, Kev. I've been here a week. I think I may have put on 50 pounds already. I made some room before I left sunny Los Angeles, but it has been quite the week. Good evening to everyone in the house, the usual suspects. We've missed you. We hope you have missed us too. It's been, since Thursday evening when we did our event at the world famous Hippodrome in London.
Wow.
We had a ball, and we just wanted to say thank you to the Hippodrome, to the owner, Simon, George, who made all of this possible, connected us and believed in us and believes in what we're trying to do as a show and trying to get even more connected with an audience. And also to Salvo and all of the staff over there. Mike, what a legend he is. We hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did, because let me tell you, that is going to be the first of many such events. And Kev, I don't know if anyone has seen the video that you and Lee did, but go over to Lee Judges TV. We're putting it up on our channel as well this evening for a behind the scenes look. We just had an absolute ball, didn't we, Kev?
Oh, it was first class. And as you said, Soph, Simon, George, Mike, everybody connected with the Hippodrome were just absolutely sensational. And it's nice to see that they believe in what we're trying to do, what we want to do, what we want to deliver to our squaddies and fan base. And, the great thing is they back it, which is absolutely brilliant. It was great to meet people face to face, squaddies meeting squaddies face to face as well. Some absolute diamonds. I've got to say, squaddies, you really, really, really impress us. And really, really, really buzzing about it. And that was before Saturday's game.
Yeah, it was before Saturday's game. We met Lynn, who's 76-year-old. He traveled like on a train from afar to come see us. Mark, one of our OGs, Utabi, Stephen Foot, who was the creator of the word squaddies and came up with that. We even met the infamous Jags, who got lucky again on the night, everyone.
When it came out the hat, so when you pulled it out the hat, I was just like, you nuts, you didn't. Yeah. But the guy's got a gift, hasn't he? He's got a gift of winning, which is good, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And this is what we want our Arsenal to be. So thanks to Lee Judges, of course, and Dan Potts and Tom and Harry. We've got some great pictures from that night. It was just brilliant.
Thanks to Lynn as well, Sophie. Thanks to Lynn.
Yeah, I mentioned Lynn.
Lynn for turning up early. And do you know what? You kept us going at times.
She did.
During the
she
day.
Really did. Yeah.
You know the score. So thank you very much, darling. It was a pleasure meeting you again after, obviously, Hackney Marshes. That's all I'm going to say about that one.
And we, Kev, had our moment as well. I love this picture of us together. It was Dickie Bow Thursday, of course, for the event, and you turned up in your Dickie Bow, smashing it. And it was just wonderful to be in the same room as you, spend time with you, and talk about our show. And
Well, you did
a
get
whole bunch of
you
stuff.
did get the bear hug, Soph.
I did.
Let's be honest. You got the
I
bear
did.
hug.
Mega. I swear to God, I was like, no wonder, I keep thinking about one of the pictures that we show of you from your younger years, this one. And I'm like, I got the bear hug. I felt it. Or it was just like, now I know, like Kev's uber strength. The dude's like a superhero. I mean, it was just unreal, Kev. It was just wonderful. I loved it, every second of it.
For me, and let me just tell the squaddies this. For all this time we've been on squaddies, you got to remember, Sophie and I have only ever connected on here. We've only ever connected online. So to actually meet Sophie and be in her presence, look, Sophie does so much, and to be able to deliver a hug to say, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do from me and the squaddies. Sophie got that kind of hug. Trust me, she got that kind of love.
Totally. Now I know how right he felt for all those years.
That's why he kept scoring. He kept loving the hugs.
Totally. All right. Well, let's get stuck into some football, shall we, Kev?
Yes.
We lose horrifically to Crystal Palace, which I think we all accepted, thinking, you know what? That was the game that was going to be the trickiest of the three that we wanted to get maximum points out of. So Vieira was ready. He was ready to go up against his old club. He wanted to prove a point. And then we go into Brighton feeling kind of confident that we should be able to bounce back. We did not. We played horrifically again, and the manager made some dubious choices in his team selection. Then we went to Southampton. No, Southampton was at home. No, Brighton was at home.
Brighton was home, away. Southampton away, yeah.
And that was
a must-win for us.
A must-win, and we lost.
It was.
So typical Arsenal. We then have Chelsea, Arsenal, and West Ham coming up, of course, in a few days.
Well, Man United, right? So
Man United.
Yeah, let's be honest here, Soph. Our game in hand was Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah.
And isn't it just typical Arsenal? We do things backward to bloody front, don't we? We do things backward. It's typical Arsenal, isn't it? But you know what, Sophie? I think we done a Kev Says, and I asked, will we need some favours from other teams? And I think we got a couple of favours from a couple of other teams, if we're honest. Brighton done us a favour.
They did the North London double in a different kind of way.
Brighton done us a favour the week after, and then we couldn't finish our dinner against Southampton. And then obviously Saturday we got a favour off the Bees. But we'll cover that.
We'll cover that. We'll get to that for sure. We'll cover that. So going into the Chelsea game, I was not expecting, even though we've had a good record against them since the Mourinho days were over, just the way we were playing. We had a conversation, Kev, about, I trust that we could put in a performance, but at that point, after Mikel had played Xhaka at left back and left Sambi in no man's land, that was the part that I wasn't going to trust. But when we talk about, and I've criticized him for not learning from his mistakes, he certainly learned from his mistakes going into that Chelsea match. No doubt about that one. So then we moved to Manchester United in the weekend. Manchester United had just been crushed by Liverpool. They're awful. Everyone knows they're awful. But again, Manchester United, the type of team with their individual brilliance, can turn it on at any given time. Team sheet comes out, Kev.
Go on, Soph.
Team sheet comes out, and I thought he would stick with the Chelsea team, but Rob Holding was on the bench, and El Neni comes into the midfield. And El Neni, let's be honest, was a revelation. Talk to me about the transition from Chelsea to the United game, the team selection, the players that have impressed you the most. Like, what's your nutshell before we get stuck into some nuts and bolts?
I think the Rob Holding decision if you remember rightly, against Chelsea, we started with a back three with wing backs. What we wanted to do was try and keep it as tight as we could, etc. But the way the game was panning out, actually, that system was actually hindering us from actually having a goal. So what he done during the game, he changed it. He changed it to 4-4, 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, whatever you want to call it, and that made us a bit more offensive in the Chelsea game. We scored 4 goals. That tells you that allowed us to get up the pitch a lot easier. Didn't stop us defending poorly against Chelsea, by the way. But second half, we addressed its situation, and Eddie Nketiah was star man. He got a couple of goals, and obviously Saka and Smith Rowe. It was produced and born in Hale End, wasn't it? And that was fantastic for us. And then you move on to Manchester United, and you think keep the same team, but Man United carry different threats. But we have to be a threat as well, I think, Sophie. I think that's the important part. So what did he do? He moved Ben White back into the centre-back spot. He dropped Rob Holding to the bench. And we kind of went back to our 4-3-3 type system. El Neni and Xhaka, partner Xhaka with Ødegaard in the midfield. And we had Eddie up top. We had Saka on the right and Emil Smith-Rowe on the left, who, look, those 2 wide players had scored. Well, all 3 of them had scored, hadn't they? So keeping them in place, you could understand why everything happened like that for the Manchester United game. Tavares at left back kept his place, Sophie. And, it was going to be interesting to see how that panned out. And we found out very quickly after only a couple of minutes that was a masterstroke to play him because, not only is he good going forward, he pops up with a goal. So
he did, and it was really important for us to score the first goal. And I was there at the game, and after that first goal went in, the atmosphere was just electric. The way we responded, it was not a game for the faint-hearted, Kev. I mean, this Arsenal team remind me of an old school Dallas episode. Those old cliffhangers at the end of each week or at the end of the season. They just leave you right there like, what? And it felt a lot like the last 5 games. Our defense has saved us a lot this season. They've been great. But for the last 5 games, for me, Kev, I was curious to know what you thought about this because we hadn't talked about it. They're the dodgy part of the team. It's like the ball's a hot potato. They panic in possession. And, the front line are the ones who are kind of making things tick, making things happen. The midfield, since Arteta kind of played Xhaka and El Neni, doing a really great job. Can you talk me through what you think is happening at the back? Because even when Tommy was just on for 5 minutes, I thought, okay, wow. Remember we said like the Cedric, he's been great. He was absolutely schooled in the first half. I watched him a lot. I kept my eye on him. And he was tortured in that first half against Manchester United. He was much better in the second half. Yeah. No doubt about that.
Sancho gave him a hard time first.
He really did, Kev. What did you make of, and what have you made of the players that we've really relied on? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much, Sophie. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the strikers have carried us because we couldn't hit a barn door against Southampton.
No, but possession-wise, calmness-wise, I don't.
Yeah,
think
but I don't. Yeah. But it's not about possession.
Fine. That's fair.
We're at the time of the season, Sophie, where results matter. It's not about performance anymore. It's about results. And a lot of these guys have never, ever been in this position. So how do they navigate themselves through it for the Crystal Palace game, for the Brighton game, and for the Southampton game? We've had to really try and rely on our defense because there was nothing happening at top. Nothing. All of a sudden, we clicked against Chelsea, scored 4 goals. But there was a vulnerability about us at the back. And you know what? It wasn't Chelsea's great play. It was our poor play. So that's kind of crept in. I agree with that. That poor play, that not being strong and being decisive in defense, that's kind of gone a little bit. But I can understand why it's gone, because you know what? the prize is there, Sophie. You know, these are young men, and that's not an excuse, but these are young men, and they're learning their trade to try and get that Champions League spot. And they've messed up in the first 3 games after the international break. Here they are playing Chelsea away. We're 1-0 up. We mess up. We're 2-1 up. They mess up. It needed them to get into the dressing room, probably to have a talking to and a little bit of a few adjustments, etc. And then we go out second half and we kept a clean sheet in the second half and we went on to win the game. And I thought we were pretty comfortable against Chelsea second half. One thing about Manchester United, Sophie, I think they carry a different threat because that man, the main man, Ronaldo, was back for them. And you always have to account for him. They've got some players. Sancho, he can do that to anybody. He is a gifted player. We know that. He did give Cedric some serious problems in the first half. Second half got a lot better. Ilanga's very quick. We saw his speed. He got in a couple of times. And I think Nuno played him pretty well a couple of times. But Sophie, just like anything, we're not convincing at the moment. We are not. We won the game 3-1, but we are not convincing because you know what? With that penalty, Sophie, it could have been 2-2 and then it could have been anybody's game. So we kind of got the rub of the green when we needed it on Saturday. But Manchester United were a wounded animal and they played us tough, Soph. They did.
Before we get stuck into a couple of key moments in the game, Kev, do you think when I watched Match of the Day later on in the evening, they hit the crossbar, they hit the post when they missed the penalty. Rambo 2.0 made a superb save again, pushed it onto the post. They had a goal disallowed, which should have been. We had maybe some people would say fortunate penalty against Saka. They say they should have had a penalty with Cedric's little handball. Do you think that finally, after so long of being on the bad end of decisions, Man United got a little bit of taste of their own medicine, and maybe we also had a little lady luck on our side on Saturday, Kev?
It all happened in one game for us, didn't it, Soph? It all happened in one game. It was amazing. You know, usually these things go for Manchester United. It didn't go for Manchester United this time, and we got the slices of luck that we deserve. They say, don't they, that it evens itself out over the season. Well, we all seem to get it all in one game. And you know what, Sophie? We needed that. We really needed that. And I know people, it's not like we still got to win the game. Yeah, you still got to win the game, but they were all over us at times, Sophie, especially second half. That penalty was a bad penalty to give away for Nuno. He had his 20-minute spell, didn't he? You know, he had his 20-minute spell of madness where there were times where he was trying to pass it through people and it kept getting trapped. And, you know, the penalty incident. And there was a mad 20 minutes for him where he needed to calm down. Maybe experience tells you, listen, I won't try to play that ball. I'll just knock it into Eddie or I'll play a diagonal ball. But he kept trying to force it and they kept trapping him, which was a bit worrying. But do you know what, Sophie? You made a really good statement before where you reckoned, you know, if his mental state was like that, he probably won't play for Arsenal again this season. But the fact of the matter is, Sophie, he's come in and yeah, his confidence is a little bit shaky. But I thought it was a really good decision to play him because after that initial 20 minutes, in the second half especially, he did come back to form and he did perform okay. So, do you know what? This is all a learning curve for him, Sophie. It's all a learning curve. We do miss Tierney, but playing Nuno, I thought, give us that balance on the left-hand side as well. And, you know, listen, I'm just happy we won the game, Sophie. And for the strike that won it, Soph.
Okay, we'll get there. Hold on. Hold the mayo. So Nuno reminds me of, like, you know, when you're in school and you're kind of learning how to kiss and there's a lot of energy, but there's no technique. You know what I mean?
He's infusing. There's enthusiasm. Yeah, there's enthusiasm,
Like
but
all
there's
the
no subtleness.
no, none, zero. And you're like, wow, is this really what it's like?
Oh,
That
jeez.
can't be right. He's such a hot mess. It's unbelievable. Like he is a hot mess. And that just led me to believe, as much as I think he has some raw, talent, he's like that unpolished diamond, perhaps. My goodness, he is a liability of the highest order. And, you know, every time he got the ball, my heart was in my mouth. And then he had a really good chance to maybe curl one in the top left-hand corner. And again, too much. Calm down, calm down. But you can't argue with the fact that I said he wouldn't play again. Didn't feel like it was going to happen for him. But after the debacle at Brighton, Kev, and Southampton, I think Mikel Arteta, to give him credit, he's like, if we're gonna win, we need to play players in their position. We need
Balance. We need
balance.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the one player who might not play and he's going to be on the bench in case something happens, to me now seems Sambi. Because El Neni, can we just take a minute before we get to Xhaka and his goal and some of the finishing? A player who many Arsenal fans, I love the energy. Arsenal fans are very particular sometimes about players they talk about. And if you say something about Arteta, it's like, well, what about everyone who's been bitching about El Neni and bitching about Xhaka and bitching about this person and that person? This guy, to me, has always, no matter what, been the consummate professional. Whether you agree with him being the answer or not, generally, when he has come into the team, he has done a decent job. He's the epitome of when I say sometimes, guys, just do your job. And together with this guy, the two of them showed what experience means. I think sometimes people underestimate the prowess this guy has with his national team, being in the best 11 for AFCON, Kev.
Well, that
As a
tells you
player,
everything.
yeah,
That tells you everything.
there's some
Sophie.
pretty great players who play in AFCON, Kev. Can you talk me through, as a player, when you have someone like this in your team? Is it? I don't want to compare him to like a Martin Hayes or someone like that, but there are so many unsung heroes in teams and underappreciated players. I've wanted us to sell El Neni, but should he be part of our squad? Talk me through that a little bit.
I think he's one of those players, squad players, that everybody gets along with because he's just such low maintenance. Sophie, he's an experienced player. He's happy to be at Arsenal, and he's always ready whenever you call upon him. Those players are the makeup of any squad. Any squad who wants to be successful has players like El Neni who will be on the bench, will do the extra work after training because he's trying to keep his fitness levels up, etc. And if the team is struggling and they need to stick him in, he will go in and he will do a job. Sophie, we know what we're going to get from El Neni. El Neni's very rarely is he. We've seen him score goals and some crackers at that, but he's not one of those guys who's going to get the ball and start spraying it around the place and be opening teams up. But one thing we do know, Sophie, he will graft, he will put his foot in, he will pass it simply, and he will make it, he will be continuously available to receive the ball and pass it. And sometimes, Sophie, he does get caught on the ball. And sometimes, Sophie, he's not the greatest of passers, but he will always give 110%, Sophie. Guys like that are what make up the squad. If you're going to be a successful squad, we need 4 or 5 of them to be in the squad, Sophie. That's for sure. And I think when we really needed El Neni stepped up. The last 2 games, we've really needed him. We've really needed somebody with a little bit of know-how, with a bit more experience than Sambi. And Sambi's a talented player, but he just doesn't have the experience at the moment, which is understandable. El Neni comes in, and you could see Xhaka's a lot more comfortable beside him. And, I mean, he's even allowing Xhaka to do things that I've questioned, Sophie. Let's be honest. I have questioned Granit Xhaka. left, right, and centre. Left, right, and centre. Because he doesn't do it enough. But you know what, Sophie? I'll take that one on Saturday all day long. That'll be my one for the season. I'd love one more, but I'd love one more against Spurs, if you don't mind, Granite. But you know what?
If you don't mind,
But
Granite.
you know what? I take that one, Soph, because we were in funny territory against United. It was a matter of when they were going to score, and that kind of took the game away from them.
Okay, so let's get to the elephant in the constant room. We had a show a little bit beforehand when his interview went out, and we talked about Xhaka and how he just needs to stop digging out the fans a little bit. Let's just get on with it. Let's play football. Let's perform. But to be fair, he's really come a long way since this day. And to be honest with you, Kev, this is where I really want some Arsenal fans to be fair. The self-righteous Arsenal fans, who there are a percentage of online, trying to dig people out for having an opinion about Xhaka, but they're the same people who are having an opinion, about Mikel Arteta. So you can have an opinion about Mikel Arteta, sorry, but they're the same people who were digging out Xhaka. I stood by him for a really long time, but I too lost my patience because of the red cards, the ill discipline. And then he goes and does this, and he's actually been really good this season, to be fair to him, Kev. What are we going to do with this guy?
Well, so listen, let me tell you something. What we're going to do with him is, listen, he signed a new contract last summer, didn't he? So it looks like he's staying. I think the key to everything, Sophie, is we need a stronger squad. We need a stronger squad. That's what we do. We need a stronger squad. And we need to be able to, at times, rest Xhaka, rest Partey, and play two others. We need to be able to shuffle the squad. For instance, if it's an FA Cup game, Soph, and we've got Xhaka and Partey and Saka and Smith Rowe and whoever on the bench, that team that goes out there has to be just as strong. So there has to be competition for places. And Xhaka could be one of 4 or 5 midfielders who play. I've got no problem with that, Sophie. I've got no problem with that. Because if we're going to be a force and a challenger, Soph, we're going to need it. We really are, because two injuries, virtually knocked us off kilter. We're nowhere near as strong enough. Nowhere near.
And I agree with what you're saying, and with I'm a kid as well. Like every team, it goes back to like Phil Neville, who could plug in anywhere. Maitland-Niles was that for us for a bit, but City, Liverpool, James Johnson, who's in chat, mentioned James Milner kind of being one of those players, those versatile players, Kev. El Neni, when you have those types of players who are happy to be in the squad, like you said, I'm not sure Xhaka is happy to
just be a squad player. No.
Yeah. I don't think so.
He's not. But that's the difference in those players. I think as far as Xhaka's concerned, he's a starter. So he's a starter. He's the one with probably the most experience in the team, etc. He sees himself as a leader, even though he hasn't got the armband. That's all right. He sees himself as a leader. And if he's going to lead like he has done over the last couple of games without the madness, that's fine. Got no problem with that. But as a football club, we need to push forward. We need to progress. Now, are there better players than Granit Xhaka? Yes, I truly believe there are better players than Granit Xhaka. Has Granit Xhaka been good this season? Yes, Granit Xhaka has been good this season. 100% he's been good this season. He still had his problems, Sophie. Remember, this is the same season where in the second game, or was it the third game of the season against Manchester City, he committed suicide and got sent off in the first half.
Yeah, that's where I lost my.
Yeah, you lose your faith. You lose faith in him.
Yeah, I let him go that day.
But again, if we are going to be a team who challenge for everything, we have to have a squad where we can drop players, rest players, Sophie, and then they come back and start. We've got to have the chess pieces to be able to move around. That's what we've got to be able to do, depending on whatever game we play. So I think Xhaka will play as one part of a midfield quartet or quintuplet or whatever we look at. If we get that, we're very strong, Soph, in the engine room.
Yeah, a few people are talking about, Xhaka, Elneny and Sambi being the backups and Partey gets a new partner, but then others talking about, Partey's vulnerability with injuries. And he's had a few since he's been here. Same thing, of course, with Tierney. A lot of fans wanting to see us invest in a left back as well, Super Kev. To stick with that midfield now, is this a case, and you're a player, you can tell me, and by the way, good evening, Albert. It was great to meet you too. James is in the house, who to be. Mark as well, Mark B, who won one of your coins, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Lee made this comment on the show that we were on a few weeks ago, in that we've benefited from the inconsistency of Tottenham, Manchester United being so poor. Do you buy into that narrative, Kev?
No. Let me tell you why I don't buy into it. We have to look after ourselves, Sophie. What the others do is no concern of ours. If the squads at Manchester United perform to their maximum, they should be challenging for the title. Of course they should. But what business is it of ours if they can't get their stuff together? That's their problem. Spurs, that's their problem. That's not our problem. That's their problem. The fact of the matter is, it's a season and you've got to play as the games come. If they can't get results, that's their business. We have an absolutely fantastic opportunity to get in that top four and to secure a top four spot, which we never thought we'd be in this position. But because we're here, Sophie, we want it. We want it, and we want it so much as Arsenal fans, because you know what? That will give us a massive boost, I believe, for summer. Mm-hmm. It really would give us a massive boost. And then you will see with our transfer policy, which I think maybe we'll discuss later on in this show, how that changes with the names and the players who come into. But the fact that other teams are messing up is not our concern. I don't care. I care about Arsenal. And Arsenal have to pick up as much points as we can. And if that gets us into the top four, it gets us into the top four.
So we know this, and I want to flip the question, but I know you don't like playing kind of the what-if scenarios and stuff. Let's say United were the team that Zlatan was in that won Europa League and the League Cup under Mourinho. Let's just say Tottenham were the team that got to the Champions League final under Pochettino, probably their strongest team that they've had in a long, long time. Are we still in this position, Kev?
Maybe not, Soph. Maybe not. Mm-hmm. But again, this is the what-if game, and I don't like that. What if they're not? That's the problem. They are not those teams. So, again, it's no point even having the conversation, because Manchester United are not who they were. Tottenham are not who they were. They are where they are right now. That's who they are. And we know there's inconsistencies in both of those squads. Just like there is inconsistencies in ours, just like there's been certain inconsistencies in a West Ham team who have far outdone any expectation that they've had. So it's been a 4-team race.
Yeah.
And Saturday's result for us, Soph, was a knockout blow to Manchester United. They're done with the top four. We knocked them out. Now it's a 2-horse race.
This goal
for that
really,
top four.
this goal really knocked them out. And a player I wanted to touch on. I mean, I feel like when I watched that game, I was thinking, wow, we're struggling to beat one of the worst Manchester United teams I've ever seen. I mean, you have to go back to the 80s.
Yeah, but you know what, Sophie? This is one thing I will say to you. As bad as they were against Liverpool, they are not rolling up to the Emirates and rolling over. You know that. I know that. They've got a huge fan base in London, and they see us as we are not who we were. Never mind you saying that who they were. We are not who we once were. So they see this as a prime opportunity to knock us out. That's what they saw. We could knock Arsenal out by coming here because that top four spot is still available. That's why Ronaldo came back. But we knocked them out. That's the name of the game. We knock them out. We give them a right hander, then a left hook. No problem. Bang. They're gone.
Yeah. I guess, you know, again, I'm not playing the what if game. That Bruno Fernandes, it was, I have to say, I've been to a lot of football matches in my life, but I'm not sure there was a more gratifying moment. I text you right away, Kev.
Straight away.
And I know the old internet doesn't move too quickly at the Emirates, but it was, that miss was celebrated as much as the goal. It was absolute poetry.
Sophie, do you know, and remember why it is. This is the biggest rivalry of Premier League history.
It to me,
and it still is there. It's still there, Soph.
I think so
we
too.
might not be where we were, but listen, old habits die hard against them. That's for sure.
I don't think City and Liverpool have reached the intensity yet of United Arsenal. I don't. I think it's become a great spectacle of football that is a beautiful football kind of rivalry, but it doesn't have enough of the history yet that Arsenal and Manchester United do. Because there were moments in that game that got ugly. And I don't know if it's because of the history, but I'm pretty sure both teams know. Ronaldo, he knows. He's played in some of those games.
Yeah.
You know, and Bruno, Kev, you know, to me, you know, people say, oh, he's such a talent, he's this and that. I find him, this might be strong, but I find him to be one of the grossest footballers I've ever seen play, whether it's on the telly or in person. I don't care what he does when he's great. If he plays for your team, you probably love him. But if he doesn't, he's one of those players that every opposing fan, and this is a strong word, but I'm just being honest, loathes. And that, if that tackle that he made was on Mane or Salah or De Bruyne or Mount, but
forget if it was on them. If it was Granit Xhaka who done that, or another player, Arsenal player who done that, they would be straight red. It's that simple.
It was disgusting. And like Wrighty and Shearer said on Match of the Day as well, it was so off the ball the moment. He had time to stop himself, but he couldn't help himself. And he does this all the time and he gets away with it. And by the way, Mane too, we'll get to that. You were covering that game for Sky Sports. I don't know how these players, we laud them when they do great things, but poking someone in the eye, what is wrong with you?
It's a gouge. That was a gouge. When it's just a poke, it was a gouge. It was like finger like that. You're gouging someone's eye.
He does it all the time, Kev. He does.
But Sophie, the issue is this. And, you know, I covered the game, obviously, yesterday for Sky. One side I've got Graham Souness. One side I've got Jamie Carragher. And when the questions are coming in thick and fast, and you haven't got a long time to answer the question, because I could go into a rant about VAR, etc., etc. But if the referee doesn't see it and VAR don't point it out to the referee, you have to get on with it, and that's what they done. Remember, you're at Anfield now, and it's just like all of the Manchester United in their pomp. Many would say Arsenal in their pomp, Sophie. You get away with stuff that maybe other teams won't get away with. And sometimes that's the case. But, I mean, VAR has been brought in for a reason. But that's why I always say it's not fit for purpose, Soph. How does Fernandes stay on the pitch? How does Mane stay on the pitch? How is that not a penalty?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how is it not a penalty? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And then you go back to the Everton Man City game and the Man City handball, Rodri. And then you say to yourself, how is that not a penalty? And that goes to VAR and they say it's all right. Where do you go then? You've got nowhere to go. You know, we've got nowhere to go. You see it, but the decision is totally different to what you see. I said the referee bottled it. The referee did bottle it, and VAR is not fit for purpose as far as I'm concerned. Fernandes is a straight red. He should have gone. Mane should have gone, and Trent Arnold could have gone, but that is a penalty against Everton. But again, when you're in that position, things tend to go your way. And really, Sophie, they shouldn't. They shouldn't go your way because people should be able to see. You see what you see, and VAR should be able to implement it. Tell the referee that's a penalty or that's a free kick or that's a sending off.
So there's 440 of you in live chat. Please hit that like button, kiss it, caress it.
How many likes we got?
We've got Tammy is in the house, our chief like officer. She will let us know. Do not piss Kevin off on this one. Let me tell you, at all. So what Kev says goes. So Tammy, you let us know how many likes. There's 440 of you in live chat.
Let's see how much likes.
It's quite simple. It's like when you go to a birthday party, right? You go in, there's 117, Kev.
Come on, guys.
Oh, Gunnar Russ is in the house. Hey, Gunnar Russ bought me a drink at the Tolly.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, my boy.
136. Come on, guys. 136 and 440 in chat. Come on.
Gunnar Russ is on it. He's on it here.
That's not good enough. Come on. We got to be minimum 50%. That's 220. Right. We are way off.
Before we leave, you guys better make this happen because you remember what happened last time. Yeah. Like, do not screw up. That's all I'm saying. Just saying. Okay. Where do we go next? What was I going to say? I got distracted when I saw Gunnar Russ's name come up because I wanted to thank him for buying me a drink, and I met his wonderful daughter Lucy as well, Kev. Of course. I met. I got this put these up as I remember them, Kev, because I met these two fellas as well who were sitting below me.
Look at Mark and James
Johnson. Absolutely brilliant. Do you know what Mark did when Matic was subbed and Mark heckled him? And you saw the story today when Matic was like going at Arsenal fans when he was saying, since you've won the league, I've won three. Well, that was our Marky.
Was that Mark giving him plenty? Go on, Mark.
Absolutely. Get in there. Get in there, totally. Yeah, McTominay as well. I'll tell you something, McTominay. Does he even get into Newcastle's midfield? I don't think so.
But he's in that side to cause trouble. That's what he's in there for, Soph. He's in there to kick, bollock and bite. That's all he's in there for. Because he's not going to hurt you with his game, is he? Yeah. You know what I mean? He's in there to cause to upset you. That's what he's in there for.
Definitely. He wants me to buy drinks already. Bought me 1/2 pint.
Yeah, but that's Russ. You know the next few rounds are going to be yours. You know that, don't you?
Hilarious. Well said, Mark. And Taib, don't mess with Kev. Okay, so Kev, we talked about the defence. We talked about our midfield. We talked about the forward line a little bit, but I wanted to just touch on with you a little bit, of course, being our striker in the house. I mean, even though I played a little bit, sure, I got rejected by Arsenal ladies many, many years ago. Too small, Kev, too small. Then Messi came along and made
You would have made it now.
fashionable.
Yeah, you would have made it
You
now.
would have made it.
You would have made it now.
Eddie scores. Here's what I saw, right, with Eddie. He seems like a goal poacher to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's the opposite of Lacazette. So for me, Lacazette does so much more work. Holding the ball up, opening up the channels, turning, pulling the defenders. To me, before he got the goal, I was doing my bit, of course, as a fan. Get him off at halftime. Get him off. Get him off. If you're going to yank Nuno, get him off. And of course, he scored. But he seems like he's waiting for something to happen and come to him, opportunistic, like he took his Chelsea goal, Kev. And we both know he's not the answer up front long-term for the Arsenal. You and I want a prolific goal scorer. There are a few times where he's a bit slow in his movement and wasn't where Odegaard wanted him to be, or Smith Rowe or Saka. Can you talk me through those guys? And by the way, Martin Odegaard again. What a player.
He's even better live, Soph.
Beyond.
He's even better live because you see the little intricacies and you see where he goes, off the ball, where the positions he picks up off the ball and the way the way he lends it to players and gets it back. The guy's special. Let me just tell you this about Eddie. This is all new to Eddie, really. He has been in and around the team for a while, but now he's starting, Soph, for Arsenal. He's starting. And it's a different kettle of fish when you're starting. Away from home at Chelsea, he's fine. But now, at home against Manchester United, the pressure's on, Soph, because we need you to get hold of the ball, Eddie. We need you to do certain things to make the team better. Laka's a very experienced campaigner, Soph. He's experienced. He knows how to maneuver. He knows how to play. He can do it with his eyes closed because he's done it so many times. Unfortunately, Eddie doesn't have that know-how yet, and probably may never have it because his goal poaching isn't about the all-round game. It's about people creating chances for you and you finishing. Unfortunately, Sophie, the way we play, we haven't got that luxury. We just don't have that luxury. I know Eddie's an opportunist and he scored 2 opportunist goals at Chelsea that were fantastic and we really needed it. But this team need more. This team need more. Somebody to be able to get hold of the ball and to be able to dictate to the defense what we're going to do so our players can then move into position. It's very difficult to say that for Eddie to do that because it's not his natural game, Sophie. It's not his natural game. But we do need it. And that's why sometimes I think going 2 up top for us will actually work because we've got somebody who can then hold it and then maybe an Eddie or a Martinelli who can then do their bit further up.
Listen, if he scores and, contributes between now and the end of the season, we know that we still have players that are not the first team answer. We know that we're weak beyond our starting 11. We know all of these things, but it's just topsy-turvy when you lose to Palace, Brighton, Southampton. You go beat the European champions, Chelsea. You beat Manchester United, albeit a super weak team. We've got West Ham coming up who have other things on their mind, Kev, with their Europa League semi-final, which hopefully will benefit us. If our team can just stay the course here, it's in our hands. And it's been in our hands before and we lost that grip. And we've had good things happen around us, Kev. We've got to capitalize on that. We've just got to.
Sophie, look, we've had, after the win against Manchester United, obviously, then it was over to Brentford against Spurs. And then you're thinking to yourself, do you know what? Brentford could do us a favour here, Sophie. Sophie, let's be honest. Spurs were lucky to get away with a point out of that. They were lucky. They were really lucky to get away with a point. But listen, you take your point away at Brentford because they're not bad, right?
Mm.
Now, Sophie, we find ourselves in the driving seat. After losing 3 games and taking that dip, Sophie, here we go. We find ourselves in the driving seat. So, these next 2 games, and I know usually you don't want to look too far ahead, but these next 2 games for us are crucial. I think you know why. We win the next 2 games. I think Spurs are going to drop points at Anfield. I think Liverpool are going to beat them at Anfield. And if Liverpool beat Spurs at Anfield and we win our 2 games, we could have a cushion of 5 points going into the North London derby. You go into the North London derby, Sophie, and you don't get beat, top 4 is ours. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's what we want.
We've
That's
got
what
leads.
we need.
We've got leads in between, Kev.
I know we've got leads, but we've got to win our 2 games. We've got to win. We've got to beat West Ham and Leeds. That's our next 2 games. We've got to win them. Got to. We win our next 2 games. I truly believe they're going to drop points at Anfield. If they draw, if they lose, we've got to make sure we've got the points in the bag. We get the points in the bag, it could be 4 or 5 points. I know game at a time, but I'm just saying, this is the way we have to look at it. We have to look at next game 3 points, Leeds game 3 points. It's got to be. It's got to be. And out of my, we done the 5 games, Sophie. I had a bit of a nightmare in the first 3, didn't I?
We both did.
No, I'm saying I had a bit of a nightmare after my perfect run the last time.
You did.
I had a bit of a nightmare. Even Newman came after me. But Newman, what do you say about the last 2? Keep it shut, son. Keep it shut. So, Sophie, look, we've just got to the end of the season now, and we've got to win out. As far as I'm concerned, we've got to win out, and we can win out. We can win out. Of course we can. West Ham, Leeds, Spurs, and then what is it? Is it Everton?
Everton's the last game of the season.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I hope we don't relegate your ex-team, Kev.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something, Sophie. If it comes down to it, and that's what has to happen, there was 37 games before that where they needed to get their act together. If it comes down to that, Sophie, you know as well as I do, Soph, there can be no sentiment for Arsenal to take them out. Arsenal might need to win that, Sophie, to secure the top 4. Everton might need to win to stay up. It could be a hell of a game.
It will be. We play Newcastle as well. What a job Eddie Howe's doing there. We're going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff as we get towards the end of the season, you guys, but that is the perfect example of investment in January. And there's some tinkering a manager did, taking Joe Linton out of that front position and putting him on the flank, Kev. I mean,
well, midfield. He's stuck him in midfield. He puts him everywhere. He puts him everywhere, like other than striker.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And he's doing so great. You know,
really
that's good management, Soph. That's good management. Really good.
I think your Everton whiffed on him, Eddie Howe. I think they made a bit of a mistake.
Well, listen, one thing I will tell you, you could talk about managers all you like. They've had all the experienced managers, Sophie, and look where they are.
Yeah, but for their fight and their plight,
Doesn't matter, Soph. You've had the experience of Benitez. You've had them all. Do you know what, Soph? They've
It's
all
the
been in there.
players, Soph. It's the
Sophie, they've all been in there. It's the players, Sophie.
Listen, it's can you answer this real quick, Kev, before we've got 480 in live chat, and I think we're well over 200 likes, Kev. I think that makes you happy.
No, how much is way over? Because there should be
I don't know if
240.
Gunnar Russ has gone off for his tea, but Tammy, our chief like officer,
There should
will
be minimum
definitely
240
yeah,
squaddies. Come on. There should be
240.
minimum.
Let's get there.
There should be minimum 240.
Let's get there. Are you talking about I made a huge mistake a few days ago, which is actually now on video everywhere. I needed my side tidied up a little bit. And my cousin George is like, oh, yeah, I'm an expert. Let me do it. Let me do it. I wish my nephews were here to warn me. And he shaves his head. And I took that as, yeah.
Sweeney Todd. Is he Sweeney Todd?
Yeah. So he's left at Kev. When he first did it, I was like, what am I, Phil Foden? What is this? Am I 18 years old? You know, like what is going on? And then when I saw it on the video you and Lee did, the behind the scenes at the Hippodrome, I was like, oh dear Lord, don't let Tony see this. She'll be mad at me.
But you know what? You wear it well. You know how to mask it well. You're fine. You're fine.
All right, we got 225 apparently, 227 now. So
Sophie, that's not good enough.
Okay. I'm going to ask you.
How could we be on air, squaddies? Let me just tell you this, and get less than half likes. Come on. Before we finish, let's get minimum 240. Come on.
Mo, it looks fine, Soph. Just don't turn your 230. We're up to 230. Right, I have to ask you this because everybody in chat has been asking for your quickie. Not your quickie, but I'm going to get us out of here in a sec. Actually, I'm not, because I'm going to just tell a few stories from the weekend as well. Super Kev, Gabriel Jesus. I've liked him. He's been on the bench a lot for City. His stats on goal scoring are a little down this season. His assists, I believe, are the best over the last few seasons. He's been, I think, a really good signing for City. I like a lot. I laddie.
I do. I like him a lot. I think he's got everything. I think he's never really been given the main spot at City. That used to be Aguero, didn't it? And he used to come in. And look what he done at the weekend. He knows the system. He knows that he's a good presser at the top end of the pitch. He's strong. And you know what, Sophie? Most of the time, he's always fit. He's hardly ever injured. He's a young player. He'll fit right in with what we do. But I still think we need more. We need more. We do. Because he can play anywhere along there. So we've seen that. For Jesus, he can play he can play 9, he can play right, he can play left, and he can play as a 2. So I like it. I like it a lot. And he's somebody, I believe, again, another Brazilian connection, who he knows how to win, Soph. He's been part of a winning culture, and he knows the system and knows the way Mikel Arteta wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, look, we haven't even got a striker, really. After Eddie goes and Laka goes, we've got nobody really. So we need bodies in.
How would you feel if our 2 signings? I know Hayes. Look, Haaland's going to City, right? Haaland, as they say. How would you feel if Jesus and Abraham's, and this isn't biblical, people, although it was without the S. How would you feel if they were our 2 signings?
I wouldn't feel terrible at all. I'll be fine. Many other people might not be fine with it, but I'll be fine with it. I really would, because now we've got 2. One, we know who can play and score goals. Tammy Abraham is that difference maker where we can get wide and throw a ball in the box and he could get on the end of it. He can cause havoc with his physical presence. And if we need to play 2 up top, we've got speed and we've got size. I'll take that. Especially having played a season virtually with no strikers. think that's really been our undoing, Soph. If we'd had strikers in some of those games, I think we'd have won a lot more.
Well, he played 10 games in 16-17, scored 7 goals, 4 assists in the following season, 29 matches, scored 13 goals, 3 assists. 18-19 season, 29 games, 7 and 3, Kev. In 19 and 20 season, he played 34 games, scored 14, 7 assists. 20, 21, 29 matches, 9 goals, 4 assists. And this season so far, he's played 24 times, 7 goals, 8 assists. Like I said, this season he has more assists than he has in the 5 years that he has been with Manchester City. He's not a 20 a season goal scorer.
But who is anymore, Soph?
Yeah, it's
You
hard.
you look in the Premier League. There are only a few really who hit 20 now. If you're between 12 and 18, you are up there. You know, you
Yeah.
are up there. But he's never been number one. He's always been the
other
second.
guy.
He's always been the other guy. The guy who goes in when, okay, we're going to rest you and then you go in. So it's, you know, it's always a bit harder that way.
Yeah. And also, I think, you know, people were expecting him to just inherit that position. But as we've seen, Pep has played without a striker, won the league without a striker, but he's definitely contributed to that team. Okay. So that's it. That's all we've got for you today. Although I did want to say, Kev, a massive thank you to Jack Stevenson, who, you know, treated me like a queen over the weekend when it came to our beautiful club. Jack is someone who's been in the Arsenal community and a fan for a very, very long time. There's someone who's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, yeah.
Kev, when it comes to the Arsenal. He treated me to a meal at this wonderful restaurant, Alcedo, on the Holloway Road. If you guys ever get to check it out, beautiful food, incredible owners, just top shelf, top class people all the way around. And because of Jack, I also got to meet this incredible lady, Kev, at the weekend.
Yes. Absolute diamond she is.
That was just
Absolute
magic.
beautiful. What a lovely photo as well, Soph.
And it's
Beautiful,
really weird.
Soph.
A lot of people don't know that Maria is Greek, actually, and we just so happened to be together on Greek Easter weekend. She's long been a hero of mine. I'm very blessed and feel very lucky to call her a friend now, and that is all thanks to Jack. And yeah,
Did you give her a kiss for me, Soph?
I did, and she said
Thank you.
she loved watching you play, and she, like most people I ran into, including Tony Cascarino, Natalie Sawyer, the breakfast crew at TalkSport, were like, you could use Kev right now, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, everyone said the same thing. But Maria loved watching you play. As you know, she was there in those days, singing her heart out.
Yeah, she used to come to the youth team games as well. So she used to come to the youth team games and then fly down to Highbury as well. So what a woman. What a fantastic woman.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and
beautiful.
you know, so many people have been writing to me about that. They could hear her yelling from here, from there, and everywhere. And Cancun, I'm definitely going to frame that. It's a wonderful Kodak moment. I got to meet these knuckleheads over at the Tolly, Dan, Lucy, and Mark. That was beautiful.
Lovely people. Lovely people.
Great people, of course. And Dan and Tom as well, Kev, the whole crew here with you, with your Dicky Bow.
What a great panel, Soph. Yeah. What a great panel that was. I mean, we've got to do it again. I mean, these guys are just so committed to Arsenal. Hence why we gave them the medal, Soph, you know.
Yes.
Thoroughly deserved.
So Kev handed out these coins, you guys, these collectible Arsenal coins on the night, and we've shared it on social media. We'll be sharing it on the show a little bit before West Ham, because there was something else I kind of wanted to do around that. And he also not only gave one to the panel, who, by the way, fantastic collaborators. Talk about sitting at a table with people, whether we agree or disagree. The one thing that everyone has come back from that night that has said is how respectful the discussion was and how enriching it was, despite the fact that, you know, we didn't all agree on everything. So everyone got a coin, and Super Kev also gave 4 out to our listeners. And Lynn, who was incredible, got one. Jags got one. Mark B, one of our OGs, got one. And of course, as we said at the top of the show, Jags got one. Mark and I lost it. We did, Mark, didn't we? When Jags' name was called out and stuff. We're like, no,
Mark weren't having it. Mark.
You can see in the live chat as well. Everyone was like, come on, no way.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
yeah.
He's the sweetest, and Lynn is the sweetest too. The questions from the audience, Kev, were
top
superb.
class.
Yeah. And so many wonderful comments for you as well, spending your free time with us doing these things. Let me tell you what an honor and a privilege it is to do that with you. And of course, I couldn't do it with my brother from another mother. This is my cousin.
George, this is the man.
The legend.
Absolute diamond.
Who makes it all happen. He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I'm lost for words with this guy. And I just wanted to shout out to some folks who just made the whole weekend absolutely brilliant. Popped into TalkSport, did a show. I'm actually going there tonight after this. There's no rest for the wicked. I'm going to do an in-studio bit with Paul Ross, which is for you insomniacs and those people working the graveyard shift, and of course the drive timers in the United States being 8 hours behind. And Kev,
no, that's the one. That's the one. I'll tell you what. Now that is the photo for me, Soph. That is the photo. The one woman wrecking crew at the Arsenal. I'm here.
Kev, do you know what I'm doing in London? Pure Kev style. I came here for a reason. We lose 3 on the bounce. I've been here. We haven't lost. I'm brucking it.
You're brucking the neck. You ain't going back. Or she gonna, hey, you go back, you're going to get bruck up. We've won 2 games since you've been here. So you've got to see it through that. So.
And of course, I miss my Vinny. So hit the like button if you miss Vinny too. Just great stuff. Brilliant. Thanks for being part of it, Kev. Couldn't have done it without you. That's for sure. We move on to West Ham. I'm going to make it 3 in a row. 3 in a row. Thanks for indulging me on just some shout outs for some very special people. No one wants me to go back, Kev. They want that. They want it rolling.
I'm sure.
Right.
No, but you know what? I think we've got to do another. It'd been lovely to do another hippodrome, maybe in Lola's, and that would be really good. But watch this space, everybody.
Yes, lots more to come here from the Highbury squad. Kev, why don't you take us out? All
right, squaddies. Sophie, thanks again for another great show. Thank you for coming over, turning the Titanic around, not to hit the iceberg, and we're just navigating our way around it, and all of a sudden we could see the promised land. So fingers crossed we can get there. Big game on Saturday against West Ham. And you know what? I don't care. They haven't got this. They haven't got that. It's one we need to win, squaddies. That's for sure. But thanks again, squaddies, for joining us. And thank you for getting the likes up, squaddies. And you know what comes next. Let me tell you something. For all your loved ones, make sure you tell them you love them. Don't wait. You make sure you tell them. Trust me, it makes a difference. We love you, squaddies. Me and this young lady here. And you know what, squaddies? Take good care, enjoy yourself, and at ease, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
That button.